welcome. First of all, two little housekeeping things. Has anybody left a Hawaii like come on down? And to everyone else, we give away at our game show. Everyone else, please put your mobile phones on silent. Actually turn them off so we get no interference. Just please, if you've not already done so. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Thackeray. I'm one of the chaperones here on the course that we've just had, and this short course and advanced rhythm course are coming up. A big welcome to all the new students. We're going to have a great few days. And a big thank you from the chaperone department to the outgoing students. You've done a great week of work, and you've been fantastic, sociable, integrative human beings, and we thank you for that and commend you for that. Just a little caveat or reminder attached to that, with this being your last day to the outgoing students. Many of us have been in shows and courses where the last day of a course can mean people get a bit loose and they have a bit of fun, maybe a bit of pranking, and while that may be meant with goodwill, great timing. While that may be met with goodwill, it's not professional, and you've conducted yourselves very, very professionally all week, so please keep it that way. Let's not have any hint of a sour twist to a wonderful week. And yeah, thank you very much. So any of that knocked on the head now, and have a wonderful concert this evening. We're really looking forward to hearing you. So thank you very much, and over to you.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the National Youth Jazz Collective Summer School 2018. 11 years. We're 11 years old. The summer school always marks the end of another year, and what an amazing 11 years as we grow up to be one of the biggest national providers for youth jazz improvisation. We're also slightly award-winning as well. If you go online, you'll be able to see some of the awards that the organisation has received over the last few years. Obviously, none of that would happen without the young musicians. It's all about the young musicians. It's all about facilitating and supporting their journey, very important journey, in a really beautiful and creative music. So without further ado, let's have a look at what they've actually been up to this week. There's no sound. It's a silent movie summer school. So it's the connection to the laptop. Anyone able to help from the sound department? Hello? There's always an element of comedy in jazz. Great. Well, that's completely thrown the whole thing, but never mind. Of course, you know what I mean? Watch and learn. So first of all, the things that I'd like to tell you about, you will find on the NYJC website, which was beautifully positioned and ready to be shown to you. So if ever you want to know about the work we're doing, please go on the National Youth Jazz Collective website, where it talks about our regional work, our summer school, our short course, our performances. We've also got a glossary of some short videos that really demystify some of the terminology. I know people sometimes, when they're new to the music, are really worried about what does swing mean, what does walking bass mean, what does trained fours mean. So we've got a lot of those those on the glossary of terms. You can see those on our website. We've also got a YouTube channel where we've got lots of performances and some teaching resources as well. So if any of you are teachers and want to know about how to actually, what is the pedagogy, how do we go about teaching music, we've got some really good examples there. Mick Foster and myself and a few other of the educators. There's also a beautiful video for those of you that want to audition to NYJC that explains the audition process as well. And for us it's all about demystifying matters within the organisation, about the music itself, and just making things as accessible as we possibly can, because that's the beauty of the music, it's a music to be shared. And as you can see along the wall, shortly we'll be hearing from the tutors. We've got a fantastic team that have been working with us. Please could you thank the tutors for 28 As well as being fantastic cohorts of people on the summer school, they're also amazing with professional development, advising educators both regionally and nationally. So whenever we do CPD work, really keen to involve them in not only the delivery but also the preparation, because at the end of the day no one knows the music better than the musicians themselves. We've also setting up on the website, we're setting up a new network for educators as well. So if you know of any educators that you think would like to be involved in that network, we're setting up the national network to bring the educators together. We're setting up a symposium for February. Then please, for now, because I can't show it to you on the laptop, email us, admin@nyjc.co.uk, and then we can add you to our list and then tell you a bit more about it. It's going to be a really useful resource, both for demonstrating and for bringing people together as well. The thing that I've heard the most often when I go around the country is meeting young musicians who they think there's no one else in that area that's interested in playing music, and a lot of educators think that they're alone as well. So it's been a real pleasure over the last 11 years being part of bringing this network together. And it is a slow process because we haven't really got the resources and we haven't got, things that maybe other idioms have got. But it doesn't matter because we're a resourceful idiom. Jazz is resourceful, and I feel really honoured to be part of that. What I'd like to do now is to introduce you to some of the young musicians that have been part of the summer school, and this is particularly for the short course and the parents of the short course, just to see some of the other opportunities and the ways in to playing music, because there are all sorts of things out there that a lot of people don't often know about. So I thought it would be really great to hear from the musicians themselves. You're going to hear all of the musicians that are speaking now, you're going to hear them play this evening. And so I just thought, if you're going to hear them play, wouldn't it be wonderful to hear a bit of their backstory, so that you could just see some of the journey, and maybe that will help you shape your own journey as well. So first of all, I'd like to introduce Alex. Where are you based, Alex?
I'm based in Congleton in Cheshire.
And your instrument is?
Saxophone and flute.
Great. Now I've known you for about 3 years, I think, 2 or 3 years. And during that time, what's really intrigued me is that you're an incredibly busy player already. You're gigging a lot. Why don't you talk a little bit about what you're doing in your profession?
Yeah, sure. So around my area, there's loads. I'm actually really traditional jazz, which is perhaps a bit unusual, not what most people expect from someone my age. But there's loads of local bands around. And I started off by just going and having a listen. Then I started taking my horn along. I was thinking I could maybe sit in for a couple of numbers, and then from that, it sort of developed, and I started getting actually booked on the gigs. And from then, I've sort of extended the circle, been trying to play with sort of bands further afield, that sort of thing. And also tried doing some festivals down south. But I think that it's important, as well as doing the traditional jazz that I love, I've really enjoyed exploring other things, which is why NYJC has been great for me. It's been a real eye-opener to the other types of jazz that are about, and being put into situations where I feel uncomfortable, such as, like lots of people know, I'm really bad at playing different time signatures, that sort of thing. And this has been like it's really benefiting me.
So your journey has been a combination of what we used to call learning on the bandstand, which is what was only in place before a lot of the jazz education that came along sort of at the end of the 90s, and then working with NYJC. Are there any other sort of formal youth education opportunities with small group jazz?
I can't say in particular I've been involved with small group jazz, but one thing I've been involved with the Greater Manchester Jazz Orchestra, which is all people of my age, and I've formed some really good friendships from that, and people that I'll probably work again with in the future. Yeah, it's been really good.
Great, thank you. Can I introduce you to a second Alex alto player? And you're based, why don't you tell everyone where you're based?
Lewisham, South East London.
So I'm from Brockley, so next door neighbour. And you've had the opportunity to go to the Royal Academy. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the Junior Royal Academy?
Yeah, so I go to the weekend sessions at the Royal Academy of Music in London, which is an excellent jazz program. So I did 2 years in one of the morning groups. It's 3 hours every Saturday. I worked 2 years with Simon Cola, and then I went to this last year I worked with Gareth McCrane, and they're both incredible teachers, and it's very much a theory-based approach to jazz music. You learn a lot of the underlying theory, and you get to play with some really incredible musicians. And it's just good to sort of push yourself in that environment with these people who are going to be a lot better than you. Yeah.
And what are your plans? I think you've got your year 13 in September, is that right?
Yeah, so I'm going into my last year at school. I'm not making a conservatoire application. I'm actually applying for biochemistry, but I plan to continue with music as well, hopefully. Yeah.
So, might you consider the option, which a lot of people do when they go and do a non-music degree, that they then go on to do the postgraduate, as quite a lot of people do?
Yeah, I'm considering trying to do a postgraduate if I stay in the UK. Another option would be going to the States, where they run a lot of programs where you can double major and stuff, so doing both degrees alongside each other, which is sort of my first choice, yeah.
Great, thank you very much. So we've got Cubby next. Cubby, might you say what the instruments you play and also where you're based?
I play the cello and I'm based in Manchester.
And so one of your opportunities in youth jazz education is to at Chet's. So might you describe a bit of some of the things, so that's Cheatham's, which is a music specialist school. Might you tell us a bit about the sort of jazz activity, especially small group? That'd be really nice to know about.
So really for me, playing cello, Chet's is great for jazz, as quite a kind of quiet instrument. You'll be assigned a jazz improvisation group when you get there, and that's a small, maybe 6 to 9 people in a group, and you'll work every week on improvising rhythm and different tunes, and it's just a very good environment to be in when you're playing jazz.
So can I just ask the two of you, how important do you think that weekly access to jazz is on your journey? Maybe Cubby and then back to Alex?
Yeah, so with a weekly thing, it means you can really kind of improve your playing very quickly, because although NYJC is great, it's a yearly thing, so it's quite hard to kind of keep that going all year round.
Yeah, I think you pretty much covered it. You just need that repetition. You're not going to improve if you don't do things again and again. As anyone who's ever practiced scales will know, repetition and internalising stuff needs to do it.
Yeah, so it's a bit like being an athlete. You wouldn't be an athlete and not go do regular training and run around the track. And that group interaction, which is such a vital part of music as well. So you can practice as much as you like in your bedroom, but that sort of interactive skill with other musicians is the thing that's missing. So it's really important to get some access to that. I'll talk a bit more about that in a moment. So might we now talk to Archie? Archie, might you tell us where you're from and what's your instrument?
I'm Archie and I'm based in Birmingham. I play the alto.
And the opportunities that you've got are mainly through the Birmingham Youth, the Junior Academy?
Yeah, I go to the Royal Birmingham Junior Academy.
So it's just recently been made royal, so...
Yeah, it's pretty similar to what Alex said about the Royal... What's it? The Royal Academy. Royal Birmingham. No, yeah, it's very similar. It's a weekly session, but we have 2 hours in the morning, and then we have an hour in the afternoon after a short break, and we cover lots of harmony stuff and rhythm. Just everything you need, really.
And for all three of you, it was audition process to get in, so an audition to get into Chet's, and then for the Academy and for Birmingham as well, audition, great. Archie, can I ask you the way that we teach, because those of you that have been involved in receiving the emails will see that we tend to send out Spotify, YouTube and iTunes links, and then there's lots of guidance on it. It's all about learning by ear. How relevant do you feel that is to the process of becoming a young jazz musician?
I think having a strong ear is really important when you when you're a jazz musician. Like learning on the bandstand and just playing tunes like jam tunes. If you haven't got a clue of the head, you can just pick it up. So developing a strong ear is very essential. Also, you're able to hear like chords. So if you don't have a chord sequence with like Anya, or you don't know it, you're like, oh, I know what that is, which you can hear it.
Yeah, after you've heard it a couple of times, you, as we say, you've clocked what the progression is. And then also within the interaction, within the music hearing other people's ideas, and you're able to grab hold of them very quickly. Great. So we do a lot of regional work, and some of the regions we're based in, one region we've been working in is Penrith. And David, might you introduce yourself, because we met through Penrith, and then maybe after Penrith, what was your journey with MIJC?
Yeah, so I'm David, I'm based in Lancaster, which is about 30 minutes out of Penrith, and one of the great things about doing regional work with MIJC is it sort of gets you out in the world, it gets you known by other people, and it expands your social circle to encompass a greater range of people. So that's people who could hire you for gigs, people who invite you to play with. It's just great in terms of the social aspect of the music, which is why we all do it, to get along with people and to enjoy ourselves and to get and meet new people. And from there, this question came up in my head, sort of, well, what, I'm really enjoying this sort of aspect of playing with more people, what's the next step? And the natural thing there is MIJC, which is just another level up from there, and taking it to the national level and meeting people from all around the UK is a really great experience that I recommend to everybody. And you're all here, so you're all taking the great steps to make new friends, connections all around the UK, which is absolutely essential in the modern world we live in.
Thank you, David, that's great. And to follow on from that, it is a really important and powerful peer friendship group that's established through the summer school and the short course. As you were saying, it's difficult sometimes to find people regionally. It's great to be able to plug in nationally, because then you can really see where you sit, in the sort of larger scheme of things. But also you're meeting like-minded people, and often you'll then see those like-minded people at conservatoire level, and even to the point of it influencing the choice of which of the colleges you go to, because a lot of the friendship groups that are made through MIJC do sort of migrate towards the same college so that they can stay together. Great, thank you very much. And then the other region that we're working in is Bristol, and Colleen and Morgan are both involved in that. So might you tell us a few words about how helpful the regional work's been and how it compares to the national?
So the regional, it was really interesting because you get to play with people around your area, which is great. For example, I met Morgan at Bristol, so if I had any gigs coming up, I always go, oh Morgan, standing. So you get to meet musicians that are at like a similar level, so if you need a hand with anything, or you're trying to learn some tunes for a jam, you've got new people you can play with. And you can meet, like new tutors, like Rebecca Nash was our tutor, and it was wonderful because you spend like a day a month just sort of working on a tune that you learn by ear, which is, a good skill. It sort of forces you to do some work that, you might not necessarily do if you're practicing certain tunes and you just want to get those nailed. You have to work on this tune as well, and you get to work with tutors who are putting a lot of attention on a small combo, so you get a lot of information really quickly.
Can I just ask, because you've been learning the repertoire that we choose for the groups by ear as well, same method as the summer school. When it comes to then going to the region and playing the music, are there times when you haven't got 100% of the tune right, and then is it just the tutor that's helped you sort of fill in the gaps, or have the peers also helped you?
Oh yeah, peers 100%. Like I said, I come to the group, 100% prepared exactly what to do. I'm very, obviously you've got things there, so you might not know exactly what's there. And if you get there a bit early, Morgan would help me with one of the tunes really quickly, and because we've done the work in your ear before, you can pick it up fairly quickly, like Archie was saying. So yeah, the whole sort of peer network is really, really strong.
Great, thank you. And sometimes the regional participants then might move on to the short course, and other times people on the short course and the summer school hear that we've set up in a region and then come and join the region. So it's not a natural chronological regional short course summer school. It can be, you can be involved in MIJC in any different orders. So Morgan, you were involved in the short course first, weren't you? And then you heard about the regional work in Bristol. Might you tell us a bit about, because we've got a lot of short course young musicians have just arrived, might you tell people about that journey from having done the short course? How did it help you move towards the summer school?
Yeah, I think the short course was probably the most like intensive playing that I had ever done before, because before that I was in a county level band, so I live in Devon, and we have like one day a month that we do a lot, but the short course was, you know, like consecutive days of working hard. And I remember when I went home afterwards, it got to like the evening and I felt really weird having not played all day, and it was like the first time that I sort of experienced being in that routine, and it was really nice to want to feel like doing something I enjoyed, and I didn't want to drop that. So that's why I went to the Bristol one. And yeah, the regional ones they're slightly different from the courses, obviously, because of the setup and it's all year round. And there's quite a big like variance of players there, so I think it really helps you play like, you know, jazz is all about teamwork, and it helps you know how to work with a band of a huge variety, because that's what it will be like in real life. You'll just play with the people that are around you. So.
And then we've got Nathan, who this is your first experience of NYJC, and now at the end of the week, sort of looking back, been on your own journey of music and jazz. How do you feel at the end of the week?
I'm very ecstatic, to be honest. It's been a fantastic week, working with people like Tom Hewson. That's fantastic. I mean, I was listening to his album Essence, and now I get to meet him in real life. That's fantastic. Jason, Mark, Jim, all these guys just been fantastic. Learning from them in the sectional rhythm sections, in the all classes, in the combos, in the jams. You get to socialize with people and jam with other people. A lot of your combos. It's been a fantastic week. Yeah.
Has it helped you progress on your journey?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I came to this week thinking I was actually decent at jazz. I realised that there's a lot of things I can work on. I've definitely listened to what, so Tom was my first ever tutor, and he's pointed out a lot of things I can definitely work on, and I've definitely taken them on and learn from that, and I think it's been a fantastic week.
Great, and I know it works the other way around. I know Tom's really enjoyed working with you as all the tutors. Just as a footnote there, the summer school is the most intense programme that we run, and there are opportunities, not just a small group playing, but you get a one-to-one lesson with a jazz specialist. You get musicianship every morning. You get to do sectional workshops, so the rhythm sections will be coached by the 4 rhythm section tutors, and the woodwind and the brass get to work with the vocalists, get to work with singers and so on. So that's where you can really delve down deep into the music and the way it's made. And you've got the luxury of that time to collectively explore it. We've got Charlie next to Nathan, and Charlie and Joe, who's also next to Charlie. Charlie and Joe both, we met, I think, Joe, was it also, the first time was through, was it short course or, yes, and then you came to do King's Place. And then Charlie, I think it was his way around, wasn't it? You did King's Place and then, yeah, brilliant. So, Charlie, where are you based? What do you play?
I'm based in Buckinghamshire and I play sax and piano.
Great, and then Joe, where are you based? What do you play?
I'm based in North London and I play the trumpet.
Great, and Joe, you've got, come back to Charlie in 2 seconds, you've got, you're at the Brit School, aren't you?
Yeah, that's
so
right.
Might you talk about, because you're at a specialist school, so might you talk a bit about jazz and the place of jazz there and other opportunities that you've got to progress the music?
The Brit School's is a specialist school for like multiple performing arts, including music, which includes jazz. And the most interesting thing about going there and seeing the type of jazz musicians that go there is like there's so much of a variety of musicians, and like they will have like different approaches to playing music, jazz or whatever. It's good to see, like, it's good to like take in their like thoughts about it and stuff like that.
The breadth, sort of the breadth of different approaches to different genres.
Yeah, exactly.
And then King's Place.
Or like King's Place also is a very good course as well. Like, as has been said before, like there's a heavy there's a lot of attention to learning how to play by ear. Which is really important as a jazz musician, because jazz is really social music, and You know, if you're playing a concert or something and your eyes are glued to a lead sheet and reading the chords and the head melody, like you're not going to be able to communicate as well with the people you're playing with, and then that just kind of kills a part of the music, and there's no way you can really get it back.
That's brilliant. It's beautifully said. I think that needs a round of applause. And then there's no way you can get it back, you know, 'cause that emphasises just how important the music is to us, you know, and how we want to be part of it. Charlie, you have been working at King's Place with us for a few years. You've done a short course, now you're on the summer school, and you're going into year 13.
Yeah.
And I think you've, like Alex, you've decided not to go on to study music at undergraduate level. What is it you're planning on doing?
I'm planning on studying medicine at university, but like I'm kind of in a position where I really don't want to just stop doing music because I've come this far and I've been with MIJC for I think 3 years now. No, yeah, 3 years. And so I've kind of gone on this journey with them when I started out. Not very good, but I've really enjoyed this, and it's such a big part of my life now that I could not imagine whatsoever just kind of going just into like science and medicine and not really do music. So I've kind of come to this conclusion that next year, my gap year, well, I'm going to take a gap year, and that in that I kind of want to focus on my music and really get to a point where I can really happy with myself and like kind of get to a point where my music has like, I've given it a proper go, and then after, when I come back from university and things, I can get right back into it and carry on doing that as a massive part of my life again.
So that option of doing postgraduate after doing the degree course in medicine?
Yeah, that's certainly something I can't ignore. That's something that's obviously on my mind. I just really want to kind of like focus on music and give it like a full year, because obviously there are people on these courses and things that go to music schools and they do all this music, and while I don't do that, I play a lot at home, and I know that like I really want to give it like my undivided attention for a short while to really see what progress I can make and kind of see what I can do with that.
And part of that confidence is that you've seen yourself progress through the regional, through the short course, or the summer school. So, can we give it up, please, for all the young musicians? So you're going to be hearing them all play this evening. We've got 5 combos that are going to be playing, and they've all been coached by the amazing team of jazz musicians who are very subtly, without even noticing, going to walk down this way to take a seat. Because what we're going to do now is, and just to remind you also, everyone in the audience, that the age range of the performers you'll be hearing this evening is 14 to 18. And I can assure you that you will soon forget that, because they already play like true professionals, people that have been playing music for a long time. Talking of playing music for a long time, did you like the way I said Should I start with the moment? What's been really nice about the team of tutors is that there's been lots of relationships within the tutors of people who taught each other. So, for example, Norma Winston, who was with us for the first half of the week, she led various which we'll hear about in a little while, lots of youth education opportunities which Tutor was on. And then when we've been working with Julian Joseph, who's our Vice President, and Mark Mondesi, and then Mark Hodgson, who will be coming back again tonight. That's Julian Joseph's trio. Mark and Julian met at the same age of the young musicians here, so it's very easy to see us all now as in our maturer years, and to lose touch of that connection, just how important the people were in our youth and continue to be. Roland, I'm going to stop. I'd like to introduce you please to Roland Sutherland. Each of the tutors is going to give you one little gem of advice to take away with you. This is particularly focusing on things for the short course, and anyone that knows any young jazz musician, or even someone that isn't using the term jazz yet because they feel they're not really off the music. So Roland, might you share your golden nugget of advice?
Well, during the interim, as it were,
So if you haven't, if you've been to one of these courses and you've got another 11 months to go, you can actually find some places online that you can interact with other people. You just have to do a little bit of investigating, where there's certain forums and you go to like jazzrochester.com, things like that. You can find people who you can collaborate with and bullshit with, so you're not just doing it on your own all the time. And it's a bit different nowadays, because I couldn't tell you what I did when I was growing up in my formative years.
Interesting to hear.
Yeah, I mean, it's just some of them don't exist anymore, but some do. But there were places like Weekend Art College, which I think Jason knows about. Yeah, and that basically had guys like Julian Josephs and a whole host of musicians who are quite well known now. And it was a good place you could go to on weekends and study with people like Ian Carr. And well, there was some excellent tutors there who you could continue to work with. And also, there was things happening at Morley College, which is near Lambeth and Westminster. There was City Lit, and then there was a variety of pubs. I really did investigate, do a lot of investigating myself, and I found a lot of pubs on Sunday afternoons where you can find like rehearsal bands basically. And I ran into people. I joined a jazz orchestra called Jazz Warriors, but before I got to that stage, because I joined Jazz Warriors when I'd already started at Guildhall School of Music and Drama. So between when I was 15 and 18, I did discover quite a few local pubs. And on a Sunday afternoon, you know, when people have their Sunday roast and everything, in the back room there'd be a jazz ensemble going through charts and practicing improvising. It was someone Booth. Was it Brian Booth? Does that mean it was Brian Booth? Or Paul Booth? Someone like that. He was very dedicated and wanted to help people with learning jazz and having a base to practice with each other.
So that's sort of the back to the learning on the bandstand?
Yeah, exactly.
What the old school. What about Oversoul records and sort of these play-along records? Were they ever of use?
I found them useful, yeah. But I found that I needed to do several different things and not just the one. So, like, discovering jazz, jazz jams, like when we had that place in Hoxton, the Bass Clef Club. Yeah, which was run by Peter and the bass player.
You played with Charlie Parker and both of the legends in his youth.
Yeah.
That's how he learned.
Yeah, so that was a great opportunity. And,
great.
So you basically need to do a bit of homework, a bit of investigating, and you can discover things. But do look online as well, because there are things happening.
Great. So Jim, might you give some nuggets, I think particularly towards talking to drummers?
Yeah. I wanted to say one thing. It's kind of, we've touched on a few of the subjects that this has to do with, which are listening and the ears and playing with other people. And this is something that's really beneficial, particularly for drummers, to connect listening and playing. It's something that's for drummers at all levels, from very beginner right up to, I mean, I don't know any professional drummer who doesn't still do this. And it's just playing along with records. So you listen, developing a way of listening, so that when you're listening to a record, you're really trying to check out what's going on. And, listening to the drummer, finding out what they play, how they play. And today with, YouTube videos and things, you can actually watch them and see what they're doing. And then try and emulate it. Work it out a little bit on your own, but then put the record on and play along with it. Put the YouTube video on and play along with it. And you can actually watch what the drummer is doing and try and get the physics of it together, as well as seeing and hearing the other musicians who are playing, and that way you can get very close to recreating the feeling of actually playing in a group. And it's just great fun. It can be I find it as much fun sometimes as playing with other people. I was doing it today in my room. We had just had an hour free after lunch, and I just took a book out and put it on the bed and played brushes to a Stan Getz record called Stan Getz with the Oscar Peterson Trio, because it's with Oscar Peterson on piano and Kenny Burrell on guitar and Ray Brown on bass, and there's no drummer. So it's just me and my brushes on a book with my headphones on, playing with like 3 incredible musicians who I'll never get to play with because they're not around anymore. But and it can be just play with the music that you love. You know, it could be Stan Getz or Miles Davis or Anderson .Paak or Rihanna. Or, it doesn't matter. If you like it, put it on, play along with it, and work out how it feels, and it'll just feel better and better. And you can find that feeling so much quicker when you get in the real, onto a stage playing with other people.
Great, thank you. And that just reminds me of one of the resources that we've got online, which I'll put on Facebook during the week. NYJ's actually got its own playlists, and so we've got a playlist of 100 standards that are sort of of the level of ability from sort of beginner to just pretty through. We've also got a playlist of tunes, 100 years of British jazz as well, because I think sometimes we forget about what a great heritage and legacy there is in this country, nation. And they've also put together a playlist of composers by women as well, because I think often when you turn to the real book or other things like that, they're not represented in the same way. So it's nice to be able to just find a few really effective and accessible tunes, beginner, intermediate, advanced, by women jazz composers as well. Great. Tom, I think you're going to talk to us about something that's not to do with the piano.
Not specifically, actually. By luck, I sat next to Jim, and what I wanted to say kind of follows on quite well from the perspective of melodic instruments as something, that really helped me a lot when I was getting to grips with improvising, which was kind of the realization that I needed to try and sing. It's quite a specific thing, but I know when I was at school we sang a lot, and I'm a horrible singer, but we were forced to do it, and sometimes I talk to the students now, or try and get people to sing in class, sing lines, sing improvisation, sing back an improvisation from a record, and everyone kind of looks at me like this, and all I wanted to say to you really is, whether you're a pianist or a saxophonist or a drummer, actually singing along, of course, to melodic improvisation. It's about improvising when we hear a great solo or a great melody. Performance of a melody is about a communication that's coming from your voice inside, whatever your instrument is. And I think it's listening to records, like we talk about a lot. A lot of us, I know, would be able to say, "Oh, I can sing everything off that record. I certainly spoke to people. I can sing every solo." So when you are listening, that stage of being able to sing back what a great musician has done, and it gets inside you that way, and it will come out in your playing in a really, without you having to even think about it or analyze it or know what the harmony is even. It will kind of get inside you in a way that, and it's coming then from a very deep musical place, as opposed to coming from, I've got this technique it's coming from inside that way. So that's just a small tip really that I found really helped me learn to improvise, was to force myself to sing. No one else was having to listen to it, thankfully, but it was just it was good.
Would you be singing along with, or would you be singing the actual content of what's recorded?
Singing along with, so learning, for me it was learning solos bit by bit, just listening to something 100 times over the course of a week, being able to sing back every note. And then, I would sit at the piano and without the record on and try and recreate that solo just from my oral memory of singing it. you know, because then you're actually also linking up your ear with your instrument directly, which is a super important thing to be able to do. So that's, you know, it's a really simple thing. Learn a solo by singing it, and then go back to your instrument and try and recreate it on your instrument. It's a wonderful little exercise to improve your ear-instrument relationship and your language at the instrument. Yeah.
There's also a lot of scientific evidence to show that learning things by memory and by ear, you remember it for a lot longer than if you tried to learn it from a page. So it's also to do with the learning process itself. And if you try and play along too soon, like for example as a baritone player, I find it really hard to actually hear the recording when I'm playing along, with the baritone. So I can often misplay something that's not actually on the recording and mishear it. But also if you're not quite quick enough to hear something and find it absolutely accurately on the instrument, but you will with your voice, and so it's a really great tool. You should definitely do at least half an hour of it every day. And that could be anything, you could be singing symphonies, or you could be singing folk songs, or jazz, or anything you like. It's just that constant connection with the voice and the ear. Great, thank you very much. Chris? I forgot to say actually, I've just been introduced to you very informally by your first names, and I just realised that we have audience members who may not know. So I just go back, I did introduce Roland Sutherland, but it's also Jim Hart, drummer and vibraphone player. It's Tom Hewson, pianist and composer, and Jim's also a composer, as is Roland. And then Chris Montague on guitar. So Chris.
Hello. Yeah, it's been a real pleasure this week working with everyone. What really strikes me is there was nothing like this on this kind of scale when I was learning guitar when I was a sort of a teenager and everything. So everybody here is already so far down the line compared to where I was. I was a lot older when I got these things together. It wasn't until I went to music college and was put in ensembles with pianists and saxophone players who I'd never really played with before. I'd only ever done gigs in working men's clubs where they throw pickled eggs at you, things like that. So it was a totally new thing for me, which was very exciting. I really got obsessed with jazz, and I think the word obsession is an important one, because it's easy to think in this kind of scenario that there's always some standout players, and when you go to music college you'll get this, there's always one or two kind of star players, and you put them on a pedestal and you think that you're kind of nowhere near that. But if you're obsessed, you can go wherever you want, It's being obsessed is much more valuable and usable than being talented, I think. So my advice would be, at your age, you have this huge wealth of energy that you don't get again, I promise you. When you get over it, I don't know how old you may, it depends what kind of life you lead, But eventually you'll kind of, it gets hard to keep that up, so use it now, get obsessed. I used to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and start practicing, and I wouldn't stop, I just kept on going and going and going. And then eventually you start to get somewhere with it. It feels good. You get the bug for it. It kind of turns into a real love, Yeah. I hope that's useful.
That's great. And again, there's lots of research and evidence to show that after doing, I think it's something like 12 days, if you do something repeatedly for 12 days, then it becomes a habit. So that obsession, will become a habit. And if you practice regularly, the endorphins do release. You do start to feel a little pang of guilt, which doesn't do any harm. It means that it's going to motivate you to keep practicing. So you might feel to begin with that obsession and that regular practice is a real effort, but take it from me, and it's scientifically proven that if you do it for a couple of weeks, give yourself a month even, you'll get bitten by the bug, and it will start to become much easier, because it's like your endorphins are going to keep reminding you, I want that fix of practice and adventure and obsession.
It's only 10,000 hours until you're achieving.
Yeah. I'm halfway there. So Laura Judd is actually a trumpet player and composer, and one of our first alumni to actually the first of the writer were teaching on the summer school. So 2007, you were on the summer school. You were actually enrolled in this combo, weren't you? I remember. Yeah. Right. So, and you've taught regionally on the short course and on the summer school twice. Might you give us a bit of advice for the short course participants?
Yeah, just going on from what Chris said about that obsession and ways to kind of feed that. I guess for me, even if you've heard about one jazz record and you check it out, that can be the beginnings of something, a sort of very big listening journey, and a way to kind of proactively shape your own aesthetic and your own individual sound, which is the fantastic thing about jazz music is that, you know, like you could have 10 alto sax players, but they're all like completely different. That's one of the things I absolutely love about jazz music. And yeah, so you might hear about one album by, you know, for me, the first album I bought was by a guy called Miles Davis. Who's that guy, you know, trumpet player, genius, and yeah, I really loved a lot of the other solos on the album, so I found out what their names were by looking at the liner notes on the album, and then I checked out, you know, I just went a stab in the dark in a way at some other albums by some of those musicians, which then introduced you to some more musicians, so then, yeah, it's cool to just have a go, and you might not, there might be some that you love more than others, and that really starts to get you on a path of like finding out what's really for you and the things you love, and then you can go on to then, you know, do all these things that we've been talking about, learning the solos that you love, and even just by accident, you know, just from the amount of times you listen. And all that, you can become a real sponge then for everything you're experiencing.
How important has it been for you to, especially in your formative years, to have, because I know that you worked with Chris Batchelor for quite a while, for example, how important was it to have a trumpet teacher, a jazz trumpet teacher? Because a lot of what we're talking about at the moment, you could argue we could go to any type of instrumentalist and they would help us on that journey, but in amongst all of that, how important was it for you to have a specific trumpet?
It's interesting for me because Chris Batchelor is an amazing trumpet player, in fact one of my favourite trumpet players in the world, and he, I don't really feel like he was a trumpet player for me, a trumpet teacher for me, sorry. He was more just an improvisation and music teacher, because the things he taught me to do, like he played things on the trumpet that, wow, I'd never really heard anyone play on the trumpet, certainly not been in a room with anyone that played trumpet like that, so it was really fascinating just to know, like, to see the physicality of certain sounds, which to me weren't immediately trumpet-esque, but to see that it's actually possible. So yeah, I actually don't think the things you might be most inspired by might not be to do with your instrument. Certainly for me, there's a few trumpet players, maybe like 2 or 3 or 4 that really excite me the most, but a lot of the other things that inspire my trumpet playing are not really to do with trumpet, so that's a good thing to think about as well.
Thank you. And then we have Tori Freestone, saxophonist, flautist, violinist, composer, guitarist as well, I think. Bit of guitar? What was the bass?
Of course, guitar. So it doesn't matter what it's a guitarist. You know, I wanted to kind of lead on from what Tom was saying really about the jazz being, well, what everyone's been saying really about jazz being oral tradition. It's, you know, we learn everything by ear. So when you, you know, are kind of going towards maybe college or coming on one of these short courses, what you're going to use for those, for the vehicles you're going to use to communicate, to play together in a group, are jazz standards, which are obviously incredibly old tunes, and we would think, oh, these are kind of quite old, like we want to play these, but they're very beautiful, very lovely structures. But I would say to start piecing these together, and the problem is, what Roland was saying right at the beginning, there's all this, oh now we've got the internet, we can just go and easily just look at the tune and just have it in front of us and see the chord progression, and easy to kind of learn it, like as you were saying, memory-wise, or going a lot longer term if you do that by ear. So I would say just trying to work on some repertoire, but piece it together by ear. So trying to learn, like Tom was saying, singing, trying to use your voice and sing some bass notes, piece together the melody before you go to your instrument, rather than going straight to a bit of technology, sort of just Googling sort of lead sheet, and it's there for you, and then it goes, and usually 2 days later you've forgotten it. So I would say just working on some repertoire, some jazz standard repertoire, even if you can only piece together 4 bars of it or 8 bars of it, you've had a bash and you've tried to do that process, and the tradition that you're going to then learn it eventually on the bandstand with other people clocking it by ear. So building up that kind of that technique, that possibility to use your ears as opposed to your eyes and the googling kind of approach.
And to follow on from that, the 100 tunes that we've got in the Spotify playlist on the website, we've actually got them then streamed into groups, so beginner, intermediate, advanced. Because for example, if you're a beginner and you really like Charlie Parker, Blues for Alice isn't really the tune to start to do by ear. You still listen to it and enjoy it, but that's something that you just aspire to do after a few months. Go to the beginner tunes, so things like Little Sunflower and Song for My Father. Those are the tunes that you can access much more quickly as a beginner, and it doesn't put you off. You don't want it to be a struggle, you just want it to be a little bit of a stretch, because struggles you get put off if they're huge struggles. So that resource is on the website. And any of the resources you can't find, just email me, izzy@mijc.co.uk. Nick, thank you, Tori. So Nick Brown was on the summer school. Which year were you on our summer school?
I did the short course in 2012 and then the full course in 2013.
And then last year you graduated from the Royal Birmingham Conservatoire with the first class honours. Big round of applause. How's it feel to be back?
Amazing, absolutely amazing.
Did you miss us?
A lot.
So now looking at your journey since, during college and when you got to the end and graduated, the skill set you now have as an accomplished jazz musician, what place do you think your experience of MYJC has in that journey?
I think for me it comes to that thing where you surround yourself with people who have more experience than you. And that was what MYJC did for me. I came from a place called Lichfield, which is kind of north of Birmingham, outside of kind of the city. And not a lot went on there. Kind of my first exposure to jazz was here at MYJC, and I just remember getting here and knowing that there were other people who were as interested in the music. That, you were no longer that weirdo in the small place where you came from, where you were, say, 17 and listening to this music constantly. You found a place where you felt at home and there were other people doing the same thing as you. You could have those amazing conversations about the people that you were aspiring to kind of be. So throughout kind of the journey, it was finding those places where you could keep pushing yourself to be kind of the best musician that you could be. So, the short course was that kind of first place where I had the opportunity to listen to people who were kind of a year ahead of me, and listening to their ability and the talent that they had, and how kind of the drive that they had to kind of see that right in front of you and know where your kind of goal was, to then going on the course year after at the same time where you're kind of auditioning for music colleges and things like that, and having that understanding of the level that you need to be at, and then keeping that mindset all the way through music college, kind of continuing to push yourself further around those kind of like-minded people, and then continue to do that where you might be sat as the most inexperienced person on a row, but still thriving in an environment where you're happy and always able to learn from.
And just to follow on from that, very much the message to the short course participants: when you hear the gig, we're not expecting you to, in a year's time, be on that stage. You be on the stage at the time that, go on your journey and take whatever speed, whatever time you need, because it's really important that you develop the foundation in a really healthy way. If you rush at it, that foundation is not just going to be with you on the short course or to get you onto the summer school or even to get you into the conservatoire. That's your foundation for life. So it's really important to, let it take its natural course. Some people take years out, They come to MYJC a little bit later on, might be 17 the first time they've met us, and then take a year out. But all these things are part of the journey, so there is no one journey that fits everybody, as you can hear from what we've all been talking about. Nick, can I just quickly ask, and also Laura, before we move on, could I ask about the peer group that you were with on the summer school things? Do you still keep in touch with any of them? Do you see any of them on the scene? Maybe Nick first of all?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the really nice things about summer school was that, say, 5 years later, a lot of us are still in touch, and if not, we're still on the scene and we might meet each other at a gig or something and do that. But the really nice thing was, the year before I was about to go to music college, to kind of have that safe environment before you moved away from home, where you came under summer school, met some people that were going to the same place as you, and you could pinpoint those people and you'd have those conversations, knowing that then in September, when you were making that big move away from home, going on to university, which was a massive thing, to know that there were people there that you already knew, kind of. But in my case, it was just the two of us, but you know, we were in touch and we were ready to make that step together. You kind of had that safe, from this safe place, you then had another safe place ready for September when you got to move. So.
Great, and 11 years on, Laura?
Yeah, so a couple of the people who were on the NYJC summer school that I was on went to the same music college that I went to, Trinity Garden Conservatoire of Music and Dance in Greenwich, in London. And maybe arrived there at different times, because there were some people who were a bit younger than me on the NYJC course at the time. But also, I'd say about 60, in my head roughly, remembering about 60% of the people, maybe even 75% of the people on the NYJC Summer School 2007, I used to know what they're up to and the kind of music they're making. And yeah, they're, like most people I can remember, are actively making music and doing all kinds of different things, which is really nice. Everyone's doing very, very different things as regards to music making. And so it's the beginning of a sort of
forever. It's the
beginning
beginning forever.
Yeah, exactly.
So to round off the seminar, might I invite two dear colleagues, Jason Yard and Shirley Smart, to share their nuggets specifically for the short course, but I have to say a lot of what's been talked about I'm finding really helpful myself. Little nuggets of advice.
I was going to say, a lot as well. It's funny actually. People just been talking about having an open mind, moving forward from whatever point you reach in the summer school. I'd say it's also important not to forego your journey thus far. So jazz is the whole reason I went to jazz, for example, was because it seemed the most obvious music, it seemed the most obvious home to play all the music that I wanted to play. As a youngster, I grew up listening to Bob Marley as much as Roger Daltrey, as much as Jimmy Smith, as much as Nat King Cole, as much as Duke Ellington. I have my parents to thank for a very musical taste. And it's actually been really interesting meeting a lot of the young people on this course this time who also produce. I work as a producer as well as a player and arrange and orchestrate for other things. And already there's very talented individuals who do those things besides their jazz activity. And basically what I'm trying to say is all those things bring you to that point. So if you were into heavy metal, or you are into country music, or all of those things are relative to what brings you to play jazz now. So it's not to say that you all of a sudden abandon all the things that influenced you up until this point. Ultimately, jazz, as has been said, you're trying to find your own individual voice, and it's about finding your own individual voice, but working out how that fits into the collective thing.
Yay.
And the strongest voices, whether it be Miles Davis or John Coltrane, or you can hear a couple of notes and you know right away which players you're listening to, and you can find this even with piano players. And I'd like to think all those experiences you have up until the point where you decide to start playing jazz and continue playing jazz will influence you. So you should own those. If you do come from Scunthorpe or Inverness,
where you're born, your upbringing, all those things have an influence on you. So my advice would be don't ever be embarrassed by the journey thus far. You might meet some kids who know about some hip band that you've not heard about, or some scale that you don't know about, but it doesn't mean your journey is less relevant than theirs. So everything is important.
Thanks, that's fabulous. Especially with such an eclectic mix amongst the tutors of all the different backgrounds and interests. Shirley, might you bring the seminar to a close with your bit of advice?
Yeah, I guess I was going to talk a little bit about what it's being a string player in jazz, which has its own story, but maybe I'm just going to start by saying I actually got into jazz, which was through playing in a Russian mafia-led bar in Jerusalem. I was playing my last ever classical gig, playing string trios in the corner of this bar, and at the end of the night, this very dubious-looking character who'd been standing at the back all night came up to me and said, do you want to play some Moroccan jazz? And I sort of looked at him and thought, no idea what that is, and you look really dodgy. So naturally, the obvious thing to do was to leave the bar with him, go off and meet the rest of the band, which is what I did. And I ended up joining this. It was a really fun band, and there were some really good jazz musicians in it, and obviously with them I started learning a lot of different stuff. But for me, jazz, I've kind of come to it in a very, very circuitous and background way, and I feel like I'm working backwards sometimes to the beginnings of jazz, because for me it's totally and utterly inseparable from North African music and Middle Eastern music, because we used to go out into the middle of the desert and jam and stuff, and I'd sit outside this Lebanese restaurant in the middle of Jerusalem and just play stuff. So for me, that's how I come into it. And actually the cello is very, very incidental in that. It's something that's really come up since I've come back to the UK. It's a cello. Which I think is actually exactly the attitude you should have to it, because for me, the music lives in the person and not in the instrument. And I don't know how many string players there are who are thinking of coming to NYJC, but I know obviously for most string players our default education is a classical one, and sometimes it's difficult to find a place or a way in, which is for me why I ended up in the Middle East, because there wasn't one here at that time. But it's nice to know that there definitely is one here. If anyone wants to come, I would totally say do it. If you can't find somewhere around your region, talk to us. We'll try and find people for you to connect to. But there's so much more interest, I think, in string players now, and different instruments and different influences in jazz, that there should always be a way in for it. So I guess that's my bit.
That's a fabulous way to round up the seminar, and like you say, all instruments are welcome. Diversity is not just about people and the music, but instruments, the diversity of instruments. And that's one thing that does fascinate me when I go around the country auditioning. I see trumpet, saxophones, trombones, and there's somebody that writes for a really broad palette of instruments. I find it fascinating that just as soon as you're auditioning to play jazz, then the choice of instruments, the instrument range, sort of goes to the obvious jazz instruments, as they're called. So if you know anyone that plays any instrument that's from anywhere, they're welcome.
Except the bassoon.
On that non-inclusive note, please can I thank everybody that spoke today, the students, the tutors, and also can I thank my colleagues, Andy Thornton and Ron Walshaw here, who without either of them wouldn't be here. So can we please give it up? Set up for. Ron, what's happening about refreshments? Do we step outside or?
Students who are about to perform go to the dining hall for refreshments.
Brilliant.
Everybody else go to that vestibule here.
Great, that's brilliant. We're thrilled to have with us a really dear colleague from Milletfest who run the equivalent to NYJC for Indian musicians. Kushik Sen, tabla player, who's been working with everybody during the week. And we're thrilled that he's going to be joining some of the ensembles and sitting in on some of the numbers. So, just one thing about the gig when it happens, when you, as improvisers, the more reaction we get from the audience obviously moderated, not too extreme, but it's really important to feel, to feel the nerve, basically. So if someone takes a solo, let's all clap afterwards, and if there's a group that's really kicking in, or there's a beautiful orchestration, let's really acknowledge that, because I know from my own experience as a player, and I know everybody else here will agree, it just gives you a lift, and then suddenly you transcend to somewhere you didn't even know you had it in you. So, look forward to seeing you at 5 o'clock. Have a lovely rest of the afternoon. See you soon.